My name is Allison Meredith, and I'm delighted to be with you today. This is our 5th session in a series of webinars about how to manage your kids at home while maintaining your sanity and your productivity. So let's get right into it. Let me share my screen. All right, so yesterday, we talked about what to do when your kids don't do it, whatever it is. So if you missed that, go back and watch yesterday's session. I've had some good feedback, and I'm glad that was helpful to you. Today, we're going to wrap up by looking at the big picture. What's the big idea when you're educating kids or managing their education? And what does the Meredith home look like on a typical day? And finally, I'm going to give you permission for something, so you can just be curious about what that's about. So let me start off by just saying that, let me stop my share for a minute. Oh, was I not sharing to begin with? Okay, guys, this is live, so be patient with me. Okay, so there's my introductory slide that I've just talked through. Now I'm going to stop my share and talk directly to you. I've had a couple of people just ask me, what does a typical day for a homeschool family look like? I've had some people that have just expressed a little bit of angst and confusion over the fact that maybe your school has been giving hours and hours of computer work to your kids for distance learning. So I would like to share with you a little bit about what a typical homeschool day looks like for us. And I understand it's not because most of you are not looking at homeschooling long term. I understand that, but let's just agree we're all on plan B right now, right? So even your teachers, even your school, I mean, if this was plan A, why would they have the building, right? Everybody's on plan B. So, so now that you are homeschooling, whether you do that independently or whether you manage the work that's assigned to your kids from your teachers at your school, what could that look like? I want to share a story from when my kids were younger. This is going back to when I had, say, maybe my oldest was 9. So then I also had a 7.5-year-old and a 6-year-old. I was in the middle of teaching math to the 6-year-old and the 7.5-year-old because they were close enough in age. I was kind of saving myself some time and putting them in the same math book. Well, in the middle of the math lesson, my 7.5-year-old Nick, he just slammed his pencil and he said, "I hate math." Ooh, that got my attention. That got my attention. So I said, we need to do some things differently. So I started to look around. Let me share my screen with you again and show you some things. I had already done a lot of self-education. I majored in math with a degree in education, certified to teach. Degree in math with a certification to teach. So I already knew, I'm just personally very interested in the philosophy of education and different ways to make it work. But as a homeschool mom, one of the things that I found most helpful, and I'll give you the link to this, but here on this article, this is Trivium Pursuit. Where is it? Oh, here we go. 10 things to do with your kid before age 10. So Laurie Bludorn has written this list. It really caught my eye as I was looking for answers to try to help my 7-year-old not hate math, right? So I looked at her understanding of the classical methodology. What's really essential when you've got young kids? Can we be shocked together that math is not showing up on this list? Where is math? Well, I actually heard Lori talk about this, and she said, in that young stage, in that grammar stage, it's called the grammar stage, where they're memorizing facts, you do need to do some math, but it can just be a 5-minute memory drill. And then talk about math throughout your day. Cook with them. Talk about 2/4 cups equals a 1/2 cup. Talk about shapes when you're driving around town, but don't be afraid to talk about math. But she actually has some research that a study was done. 2 different groups of kids. One was given a traditional math book starting in kindergarten. One was given no workbooks for math at all until they turned 10 years old. Guess what happened? The one group that was given all these, an hour's or 45 minutes of math worksheets every day from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, to the other group that was just, they memorized their facts. 5 times 5 is 25. Let's just memorize that while you're so young and you can soak it up so quickly. Other than that, they didn't do math worksheets. When the kids were 10, of course, the group that had been doing worksheets was ahead, right? But by the time the other group was like 12 or 13, they were way ahead. And then they were like the same in terms of their ability to do math. They were the same, no measurable difference. There was a measurable difference though, and it wasn't in their math ability. It was in that the one group had learned to not like math. And the other group, they thought math was cool, math was fun. So what's the big idea of that little deep dive into that study? There's a lot more we can do with our kids than just force them to absorb information, force them to do our worksheets, make them do things that we can measure, that make us feel good. There's a lot more to education than that. So let's look back at, I don't have the time to get into this, but if you're personally interested, I recommend you look at 3 different philosophies. Very easy to find information about all 3 of these. And these are the 3 philosophies that have most influenced the Meredith home and how we do things. But I'm going to make it really simple for you. This is my goal when I'm educating my kids. I want them to become independent learners, and I want them to love learning. Now, I am speaking to you from a position that I have spent 20 years home educating my kids. My oldest is 20, then I have an 18 and 17-year-old, and I have 4 who are younger than that. All 3 of my oldest got over a 30 on the ACT. 2 of the 3 of them got a full ride academic scholarship. I'm not telling you that to brag, look how awesome I am, but I am telling that to get your attention to say, I think I know what I'm talking about. I used to lack a lot of confidence when I was earlier on in the journey, but now I feel like I can confidently say, something's working, something's working. And I did not make my kids sit at a desk or sit at a computer screen for 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day. In fact, most of what we did, we got done in 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And we've had lots of time to just explore outside and read books. Let me show you something. I was thinking about a little analogy here. Many times in education, in parenting, here's what we think of. We think of our kids like they're an empty cup. And all they need to grow and to improve their brain is for a smart teacher who has lots of knowledge. Okay, I'm representing knowledge with this blue water. They just need a teacher to come along and just pour it in, right? Isn't that how it works? If I just had the right teacher with the right skills, she could just dump all her knowledge in my kid's brain. Okay, isn't that hilarious? Isn't that hilarious? And yet, do you know what? That is how so many of us perceive education, and it is so wrong-headed. So I give you that funny analogy to hopefully plant in your brain. It's not this, okay? Maybe we're not going to agree on exactly what the best educational philosophy is, but can we agree it's not just pouring knowledge into an empty cup? Your kids are people. Every one of them is so unique, and they need you to recognize that uniqueness and welcome it. Here's one of my favorite quotes. I have it tacked up on my wall. I read it every other day. Good teaching comes from a mind well made rather than a mind well filled. So how do we go about making that well-made mind? That's a million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, we've just got a little bit of time here today, but I've been asked to share with you what is a typical day. So I'm just going to pick out what my 8-year-old does. It's related to what everybody else does, but this is what his day will usually look like. I will post that checklist. A couple days ago, I talked about making a checklist of your kids' academic assignments. And so he's an early riser. Not all my kids have done, but somebody said, why do you have Bible time so late? 9 o'clock seems kind of late. Because I want to give flexibility to my kids in their preferences. I have kids that love to jump out of bed at 7 a.m. or earlier sometimes. And if they want to jump up and get some work done before breakfast and Bible time, go for it. I have other kids, the minimum is you eat your breakfast and have that cleaned up and chores done and ready for Bible time at 9. And then after that, we do Deer's time immediately. I talked about that a couple days ago. And then I will usually do Deer's writing. Deer's writing, I just have a little book. Every kid has a book, and they write about it. I'm very open-ended of what they can write. I expect about a half a page. Sometimes he will do a little more or less, and I'll be flexible with that. But I want them to write about what they're learning when in the books they read. A plot summary, write about a character, write about what they're curious about. It's writing practice. I will come back to that later and check it for grammar and spelling and get them to correct the grammar and spelling mistakes they made. And then in the back of the book, guess what I do? I write down the spelling words that they misspelled. And then I have a system every day when we do spelling, they just have to practice the words they missed. Have you ever thought, isn't it crazy that a lot of times you give a kid a spelling list, he already knows how to spell 8 of the 10 words on the list. So isn't it kind of a waste of time to practice those 8? So we only practice learning to spell the words he already demonstrated that he doesn't know how to spell. Let me go back to that sample schedule here. So once a week, instead of writing in his Deer's Time book, we do what's called Deer's Talking. And this is not lackadaisical. I really make a lesson out of it. We talk, okay, tell me about the story that you read. And I will say, no, I want you to restate that. Don't use the word like, don't use the word and they'll need help. I'll have them pair it with me. I say, so it sounds like you need to say, Percy Jackson went to a monster and whatever, and I'll help them verbalize, because I'm trying to get them to take those amazing independent thoughts they have and put them into words that the rest of us can understand and learn from. That's communication. So we'll do Deer's Talking. And then because they got a break from their Deer's Writing, they have to write a letter. I try to aim to have every one of my kids write a letter to somebody every week. It can be a family member, somebody at church, anyone they know that would appreciate this lost art of handwritten letters. All right, as soon as Deer's Time, Deer's Writing is over, I will do some kind of a group lesson with the 3 youngest kids together. We have a history curriculum, which again, another time I could talk more about that, but we just have some things that we can easily do with very minimal prep on my part, I will say, that curriculum tools that enable me to do. I don't ever do all 4 of those on any day, but I will do 1 or 2 of those 4 things with the 3 of them. And then there's an hour and a half where I kind of take turns working with the younger kids, or they are independently working on some assignments. And we're honestly usually done by then in terms of academic lessons. By the way, we call it lessons. We don't call it schooling. We call it lessons. That's just our term. So I have, in the past few years, I have had other people working with my kids 2 or 3 days a week when I have to work professionally. Nothing is normal right now. Those 2 people have not been the 2 people I've had most recently. I haven't come the last 2 weeks, okay? We're trying to figure this out. I have college kids who've been home that they are helping, but you know, there's just not a perfect situation. Ideally, we would all have nothing else to do except manage our kids' education. That's not where we're at. So we can figure this out, guys, all right? So even I'm having to juggle and figure this out, and how do I make this work? There is lots of reading and lots of talking about reading in our house. I have a free book list to give you there. There's the password. I'll be posting this, and you can access that easily. It's just some more thoughts on reading and a book list for you. All right, so let me just say that you have permission to figure out how to make this unexpected season of your life work. You need to figure out what is going to work for your family, for your children, for your schedule. I just want to be bold enough to even throw out there, guys, I have a lot of friends who are just doing a great job as professional teachers, and they have a lot of great skills. And I know they are about as brokenhearted as everybody else that they're not getting FaceTime with these students that they love. This is not plan A to have to do this distance learning. If it's not working for you, I just want to be bold enough to say, is it really the end of the world if you just officially homeschool the next 2 months and do something different? I'm not against anything. I'm just saying, look, if your school is telling you that the way they're going to manage your kids' learning is sitting that little kid in front of a computer screen for 5 hours, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Okay, you can do something else, and maybe you just ask the school, say, I don't think this is working for me. But it is legal in every state to homeschool, and it's really not difficult to do it. And guys, would the world really turn upside down if we just let our kids read a lot of books and explore the great outdoors and go on family walks and have family dinner time for a couple of months while we wait out this pandemic? I don't think the world would turn upside down. I think we'd all get through it just fine. You know, I showed you that funny analogy. We know education is not this, right? So what is it? It's this. It's the best analogy I can think of. It's remember when you had that little 18-month-old and what did you do? You got to tell me I'm not the only mom who said, oh, surely I'm not the only mom who was just like, oh, this is so yummy. Don't you want some? Don't you want some? Don't you want some? Yes, you do, you do. Okay. So that is largely how to educate your kids. You just ask my kids. My 10-year-old was telling me this morning about a book he read during dinner time about otters. Well, do you know what I said? I don't care about otters. Of course not. I said, are you kidding me? I don't know anything about otters. That's so interesting. Tell me more. Guess what happened? He told me more. Now, when he's 20 or 30 or 40, is his world going to be better because he knows a few facts about otters that he learned today? That's not asking the right question. The question is, today, did that kid learn how to teach himself by reading a great book? And did he learn that he loves learning? All right, so that's my two big ideas for you is I want you to be focused on what can I do in the next couple of months to help my kids learn by themselves, become independent thinkers and independent learners. And number two, what can I do to help them love learning? And your example is worth its weight in gold. What are your kids going to remember some years down the road when they think about the spring of 2020 when they were bound to their homes? They're going to remember your mindset. They're going to remember how frustrated you were. They're going to remember how excited you were. They're going to remember whether you attacked this crazy, unexpected challenge with a growth mindset. I'm going to figure this out. Then they're going to remember your attitude toward their learning. It's not just a checklist. I mean, you need a checklist. You need to communicate to your kids, here's what I expect. But you're not just checking off stuff to pour in their brain, right? You're trying to light a fire of passion to help them love learning. All right, so let me just point you to where you can find all these resources. Of course, they're on our company Facebook page, but I've also put them on our blog all together, along with a few extra resources I've added. For example, the day I talked about chores, there's documents you can download to just give you a jump start as you craft that into your own chore system. If you still want to hear more, I'm willing to do a couple more webinars once in a while over the next few months. So shoot me your questions. So that's how to contact me. And then again, today we're just talking about what's the big idea, some thoughts about the Meredith Day, and just I want you to know that you have permission to do what's right for your family and your kids and your schedule. I hope in these 5 sessions that I've given you a few tools for your toolbox, but I could not possibly address all of the different situations that so many of you are facing, and they are hard. But you know what? You, as the mom or dad, you're the one who has all the pieces. You just got to figure out how to put them together into the puzzle that fits your family. You can do it. You can solve that puzzle. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, you're going to fall on your face. You're going to have to get back up again. But remember, your kids are on your team. Go ask them. Go ask your kids, what do you like to learn about? And if your kid says, I like to learn about whales, let him spend an hour or two just studying whales, okay? Call it a lesson. It is a lesson. Tell him to make a poster about it, make a report about it. Let your kids have the freedom and comfort of knowing that you love them and that you care greatly about helping them learn. Not just facts, that's important, that's wonderful, but also problem-solving skills, how to get through life when things hit you upside the head that you didn't expect. All right, well, that concludes our time together today. Thanks for being with me. And I don't see any questions, but you've got my email there on that last slide. I'll be posting that up to Facebook where you can get all those slides and more information. So feel free to reach out to me if there's anything else I can do to help you. And I wish you guys all the best. It's a good day. It's a really good day when you get to spend time with your kids and training them up in the way that they should go. So embrace that privilege that you have, because we all know these years, they fly by. All right, thanks so much.